everybody. Welcome to an episode of Taking It Personally, episode 2 out of season 1. I'm your host, Michelle Yampolsky-Gomez, doing a solo episode today. Thank you so much for tuning back in. Yes, sometimes I'm going to have guests. Sometimes I won't have guests. That's okay. We're going to be just fine. Hope you're having a great week. Let's kick off with a couple of things that I just want to shout out before we get into talking shit about things that piss us off. Number 1, I am doing a show tonight at the BK Art House in Williamsburg. That's BK Art, A-R-T, House, H-A-U-S. The show's at 5:30 p.m. It's free admission. Come by. It's an amazing lineup curated by Maria Eleni, aka Mostly Musical Maria, on Instagram. It's going to be a lot of fun. Highly recommend you coming. We also have 2 fall dates coming up in first being September 27th, which is a Friday. The next one being November 7th, which is also a Friday. Those are our next 2 reunion comedy shows. A lot of people have been asking when they can come check out some more stand-up. Now's your chance. 7 p.m. both times at the Players Theater in West Village, Manhattan, New York City. The links will be live soon. I'll be plugging them. Please come check it out. It's a lot of fun. There's about 10 stand-up artists up and coming who are on our lineup, and each artist gets 5 to 7 minutes to shoot the shit, make you laugh, have some fun. So looking forward to seeing you there. And if you don't come, don't ride my ass about like, when's the next show? When can I come? You have multiple opportunities now through the rest of 2024. So get it together. We're in August. That means you have 4 months to make your New Year's resolutions come true. One of them being seeing me live. Thank you. Okay. Moving on, that was the admin portion of things. So I do have a sad update that I want to share. Pretty life-altering. Many of you have been on this ride with me. Many of you have met her and loved her. But unfortunately, my beloved dog, my Boston Terrier, Bowery, passed away a couple of weeks ago, and it's traumatizing. I think that ever since we rescued her about 8 years ago, it was a moment that you always knew was coming, but you didn't want to think about often, as any pet owner goes through. And I even remember the first few years that we had her, knowing someone who had an animal or a pet pass away, thinking to myself, oh my God, that is so rough. I almost felt like it would never happen to me. Bowery was so healthy. She was so happy, energetic, but really lazy. And I definitely lived my life in denial that this was a possibility. But I don't want to dwell on the end of her life because she was such a phenomenal dog. She was with me through so much. She was my counterpart. She was the perfect match for me as a dog parent. I loved her so much. She was a member of my family. My parents treated her like a grandchild. Matt's family treated her like a grandchild. She was the first dog in that sense. She just was one of us. And after she passed away, I had one of my weekly therapist sessions where my therapist asked me, she was like, Michelle, do you think that your dog is with you at all times now that she passed? Do you sense her? Do you feel her around you? And I thought about that for a second, and I realized, no, absolutely not. She is not with me. My dog was a lazy diva. She was energetic for food. She loved to lay around. I don't think she's with me right now because she's laying around on a beach somewhere with a cocktail, probably back in Puerto Rico, where she's originally from, relaxing, getting tummy rubs. She doesn't want to be part of this shit. She doesn't want to be here. Like, she doesn't want to be in New York City. She doesn't want to be getting walked 5 times a day by my toddler who is just like overexcited to be holding a leash. You know, she is off living her best life. And I said that to my therapist with so much confidence that she was a little spooked, but it also made me feel so reassured that wherever Bowery is, may she rest in peace. She is 100% in a better place that doesn't involve us right now. Maybe she pops in here and there. Maybe she cleans a scrap off the floor, but I think she's living the good life, and that gives me peace. I did have a funny story that I wanted to share about her because it came up a couple of days ago with family. Like I said, Bowery had traveled around with us all over I would say the world, but she didn't have an international passport. But Bowery did travel around the country with us quite frequently, especially when she was feeling good. A few summers ago, my husband and I, this is of course pre-baby, had rented a house in upstate New York. Bowery came up with us, and the very first night in this house, a bear came and tore apart our garbage. Both my husband and I heard it happening. It was probably 3:30 in the morning as we heard the boxes being ripped apart and the trash cans being crunched between a bear's paws. And the only person who didn't react was Bowery, because she was the most useless guard dog anyone could have ever asked for. She, in that sense, was not really much of a dog at all. She was, like I said, a diva. And a few days later, once we recovered from the initial shock of a bear being right outside of our home, I took Bowery for a quick walk in the backyard to relieve herself. It was drizzling, so I put on a bright orange poncho, took her down the stairs into the backyard where there was a large lawn, a wooded area at the edge of the property, started letting her do her business. When all of a sudden, the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I mean, my hair is probably in a bun like it always is, but the residual hairs, this rat tail situation, starts standing up on edge. Right behind me in broad daylight, 20 feet away, not exaggerating, ask my husband, is a brown bear. I think that's brown bear. That's the ones that are upstate, right? Or is it a black bear? Shit, I said I wasn't going to exaggerate, but like these... David does it all. Pause, please. This is upstate New York. I promise I'm not exaggerating. I just have the colors off. Give me a moment. Okay. Okay, so I was right. Wait, was I right? Did I say brown or black? Fuck. Okay, so it was a black bear. A bear nonetheless. Not a teddy bear. Not cute and cuddly. My bad. It was a black bear. A black bear was about 20 feet away from us. I was in my bright orange poncho. What was Bowery doing? Absolutely not even noticing what was happening. She was just completely in the zone, sniffing around. Could not run back into the house because she's thick. I had to scoop her under, and I immediately started screaming my husband's name just to make noise, and I booked it back to this house. I could not believe that I had outrun a bear. Technically, the bear wasn't chasing me, but still, while holding my thick Puerto Rican Boston Terrier. So that's just a story I wanted to share of how absolutely useless she was, and yet she was the queen of my life. Bowery also couldn't swim, which you would assume is a dog's natural tendency. Think that I've assumed that you just chuck a dog into the water and they immediately know to doggy paddle, the namesake. Bowery could not do that. She was such a diva that she actually assumed that one would hold her in the water as she went. So if you let go of her in the water, she would actually sink ass first because that's how thick she was. And she couldn't really swim either. So that's another thing that she didn't really contribute to our lives. Regardless, she was phenomenal. She was so funny. She was so sweet and loving and affectionate. So many of my friends and colleagues have dog sat her over the years. We're going to miss her so much. She rarely ever barked. She sounded like a cigarette smoker when she did. Again, never used those barks to protect us from anything, really just to battle with puppies. And I love her and I thank her for being with us. She represents a time in my life pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, pre-world shift, pre-kids, pre-marriage, where I was just in my 20s and happy and spending money like it didn't even matter and spoiling her rotten and taking her to bars and restaurants. And in some ways, it feels like her leaving this life is also me saying goodbye to the life that I had. I'm not sad about leaving the life that I had behind. I'm just sad that Bowery's no longer here. So rest in peace, Bowery. We love you. I'm going to be scattering your ashes at the Standard Miami, your favorite place in the world. They're going to love it. You're going to love it. Love you, girl. That brings me to an article I read when I was trying to grieve the passing of my dog. This month, New York Magazine is doing a issue is dedicated to the ethics of pet ownership. So one of their articles then came out on The Cut, and that article was called "Why Did I Stop Loving My Cat When I Had a Baby?" I clicked on it. I did. And a lot of it resonated with me at first, right? The author sounds like she's around the same age as I am and just recently had her first child. And she talks a lot about how in her 20s, her cat was her life. Her cat was the star of the show. She spent so much money on luxury items and organic food and making sure her cat was well fed and comfortable. She then talks about the switch, that the mental change that happened in her after she had her baby regarding her feelings towards this cat, which I did follow. I followed, right? I mean, I got that too. There's a big shift that happens after you have a kid with your pet. It's hard to describe unless you're going through it. It's an internal monologue I was having constantly, like, am I taking care of both of them enough? I'm going to come back to Bowery in a minute because I need to change this diaper, or I just finished feeding my daughter a bottle. Can we take a break so we could go take Bowery for a walk? Is it too cold? I don't want to bundle. Bowery can wait, blah, blah, blah. So that mind shift of prioritizing Bowery did happen for me, and I will admit that. This article takes quite a turn because then the author starts describing different ways that she considered murdering her cat. Something that stood out to me the most was when she discussed leaving a window open overnight and secretly hoping her cat would jump to its death. That's where it lost me. It totally lost me. I mean, there's ethical, and then there's just, let's call police, call 311, call 911, call whoever you have to. Let's get this cat away from this author. There's honesty, and then there's just, we need some medication. David?
Agreed.
There was a fine line, and girl, we crossed it. We crossed it. We completely erased it, and I can no longer endorse. So that's my feeling on that. That was rough. Not to be smug, couldn't be me. Couldn't be me.
That's a weird thing to come across.
That was, that the timing was rich. The therapy is needed, and I am sending all of my best thoughts to that author, and good luck with that issue, New York Magazine. That kind of transitions us into our next segment, things I am taking personally, because that article I didn't want to take personally. I don't mean to demean other women and other people creating content, but that was a strong article. It was a lot for me to digest. We are hitting the tail end of summer, which means that it's back to school season. And I'm the mother of a toddler, so I'm not fully in it yet, but back to school means two things. One, seasonal depression is coming. Brace yourselves, people. The sun is setting before 8 p.m. We are fucked here in New York until next March when it rises. I mean, when it sets again after 8 p.m. And every news outlet is going to remind you that it's setting before 8. So get ready, get your UV lamps, plan a vacation. I know personally, I'm terrified. Have the worst seasonal depression. I hate the winter. I don't know what I'm going to do. And now I have a dead dog. So it's like all the feelings, right? But the other thing with back to school season is the restart of mom wars in just a different capacity, right? So there's a lot of discussion and discourse, I think, that happens between stay-at-home moms, moms who are working from home, moms on different schedules, working moms, the childcare you choose. Now, let me just preface this by saying I am a maybe middle-class New Yorker in the Lord's year 2024. We're hanging by threads here, people. Okay? I am not one of these like rich mommies on TikToks with the really fabulous skincare routine. I am waking up the latest moment possible, and I am going to sleep as early as possible because this shit is rough, and my child is eating me out of house and home with all of her snacks. It's outrageous, right? So I definitely have this really unique hybrid childcare situation where everyone's pitching in. She has a nanny. She has family coming to help. I work from home and I take over sometimes. My husband is in and out. I mean, we're really just making it work. There are mothers that they're working full time and their kids are in a daycare full time, or they're in a premier preschool full time, or they have a nanny who does X, Y, and Z with them. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to fucking survive here. Like, I am just trying to get by. I am trying to maybe create the next president of the United States. So don't restart the mom wars this year. And I know it's only going to get worse, as my child gets older and we start selecting elementary schools and middle schools and high schools for her to go to and whatever it could be. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be a part of your little comparison game. Please, for the love of God, give me a fucking break. I also think that we have mommy culture alive and well on social media. And I get it. I love watching people's daily routines or whatever it is. But sometimes I feel like these influencers are just always yelling at me and telling me what to do. And this is my time to yell back. Don't tell me what to do. Thank y'all. Okay, next up on things that I took personally. There was an article that came out in the Wall Street Journal, which I was completely confounded by. This one was called "Color War Captain is the New Status Symbol for Camp Parents." Now, let's dive into this for a second. When you grow up in the tri-state area, or if you're a Jewish American, you are most likely very familiar with the concept of a sleepaway camp. It's a traditional thing in our area going back probably over 100 years at this point. Where I grew up, which was a predominantly Jewish area, sending your kids to sleepaway camp was super, super common. And it's a way for a lot of cultures now to kind of preserve identity and teach traditions in places that were once not welcome to them, right? It's the same concept as, I don't know, country clubs that would prohibit certain minorities from entering. So those minorities would go and create their own country clubs. Same concept with sleepaway camp, right? So sleepaway camp is an extremely expensive endeavor. And what the fuck? You have parents now who are thrilled and excited that their kid was chosen to be the color war captain. So speaking of mommy wars, now we're just right back in it again. If I'm choosing to send my kid to sleepaway camp, I have to hope that she's selected to be a color war captain. That's fucking insane to me. Like, again, just let them be and let me be, right? I am a first generation American kid. I am the first one in my extended family to be born in the good old US of A. That has created such an interesting dynamic when I do things that are designed for Jewish American kids whose families have been here forever versus our little immigrant twist on things, right? When I was younger, I was sent to a sleepaway camp. My parents loved the idea of having me out of the house for 8 weeks. I mean, let's be honest. I think every parent is kind of intrigued by that concept, right? So my parents decided to send me to a sleepaway camp that a neighbor on my street was sending her kids to. My immigrant ass was no match for these Jewish American princesses, okay? For example, you get a packing list and it'll say something like, pack your kids with 10 shirts, 5 shorts, 2 pairs of shoes. Little did I know that I was walking into a fucking fashion show. Okay. My first summer there, my 10 shirts were all picked up from the Brighton Beach Bazaar. And I looked different than these kids who were modeling around in their Limited 2 apparel and their Abercrombie and Fitch. It was already so competitive off the bat. So I definitely stuck out like a sore thumb. And I loved it, but I hated it. And it was a very confusing thing. I wanted to fit in so badly. I don't know how I would describe it now. I love the independence that I gained from it. I love being a part of the story. The camp I went to, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is an alumni. We don't fuck around. We don't. But at the same time, while I was in it, I really grew to hate it because I just didn't vibe with anyone, really. These girls were fucking bullies. I was relentlessly bullied by a closeted lesbian. Now, I'm not saying she bullied me because she was a lesbian, but I am saying that had some conflicting feelings and clearly came from my ass. And I found out decades later that she's out of the closet, and maybe that's why there was some kind of disconnect. Regardless, I was her victim for quite a few summers, and it fucking sucked. Let's be real. I went to sleepaway camp with Jewish American princesses from Long Island, from Westchester, from really prestigious towns in New Jersey and schools throughout Manhattan. And I was not ever exposed to anything like that because of my background. So I was just completely unprepared for the bitchiness, the overwhelmingness of it all, what I should be wearing, how I should be behaving, things I should be saying. Yeah, it was really, really rough. If I had stayed all the way through, become so loyal that I stayed all the way through my teenage years and reached the age with which I could be leader during color war, as this article talks about, I probably wouldn't have even been voted in. I was just deeply unpopular. There was always something off about me. I just came from such a different background and lifestyle that it never, ever would have worked. I stopped going eventually. I just had had enough of the bitchiness. I know a lot of those girls have stayed in touch, and through Jewish geography, I've either run into them or they've met people that we know in common. And a few of them have even said, Michelle might remember me, but I was a huge bitch. So I would prefer if she didn't. And yeah, go fuck yourselves. So now I have a kid, and I wonder, will I send my daughter to something like this? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm definitely into the idea. I think you gain a lot of independence, but I probably would be way more involved with making sure that she's not being tortured relentlessly, isn't going somewhere where what you wear kind of makes who you are. And that is like a little deeper than I was hoping to go on this podcast, but it's true. It's something that I took personally, and it brought me here today. All right, little bonus, couple of minutes here. David, are you watching anything good on TV?
You know that movie, It Ends With Us? So it's not on TV, but it's a movie.
Yeah.
So I actually got to film the author being interviewed for that.
Colleen
movie.
Hoover.
I was like, I think I got to check out this movie. I don't know. It was just like a cool experience. It had 23 million views on YouTube. I was like, holy shit. So I went, I saw it.
Wait, what got the 23 million views?
The trailer.
Okay.
So I think that's like a huge thing for any movie. And it was only posted, let's say 2 months ago. So I went to see this movie and I was like, holy shit. This is like the first maybe 30 minutes. I was like, okay, this is not kind of my thing. Then the second half of the movie, it just got so crazy. I don't know if it's a spoiler alert or I won't say too much about it, but basically, I don't know. It just got very twisted. I did not expect this from a movie. I saw the Sydney Sweeney, what was that movie called? Kind of like the rom-com. And I was kind of expecting this from it because I didn't read the book. If you kind of like have a spectrum of rom-coms and you imagine Sydney Sweeney's recent movie on one end and this, you know, this would be on the complete opposite.
Okay, David. Well, first off, you're comparing anything that has Sydney Sweeney in it. Like, we all know what's going on there. That's so funny that you brought it up because I actually was thinking about mentioning It Ends With Us. So what did you think by the end of the movie?
I thought it was good. The author, she mentioned she was a social worker before. So I think you could imagine like a compilation of all the crazy stuff you hear, marriage type of scenario where you're the therapist, combined into that movie. I thought it was really good towards the end.
So you went in blind on Colleen Hoover.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect.
Okay, so Colleen Hoover is an author and like serious psychological thriller author.
Exactly.
Now, my question for you, and this will make sense, but when you saw the trailer, and you said you had filmed Colleen Hoover?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you saw the trailer.
Sure.
And you were expecting rom-com-y type.
Yeah.
You were not expecting the twists and the spoiler alert DV.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So you were shocked by that.
Yeah.
Are you up to speed on all of the controversy that's surrounding the movie's promos right now?
I had no idea there was controversy.
Big controversies. Basically, people are really into Colleen Hoover. I think her books are like really engrossing. Some of them I actually can't handle. It Ends With Us is a hard read because of the subject that it's involves, which is domestic violence. And I was really excited when I saw that this movie was filming. It was filming in Hoboken, Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, who I actually am not familiar with anything he's in, but people really like him. A lot of promo about the filming. And suddenly there's a PR blitz now that the movie has come out. And there are people online who feel strongly that Blake is completely misrepresenting the movie, what it could be about. Now she's promoting her hair care line with it at Target, and her line of alcoholic beverages, and her line of spritzers, and she's bringing in Ryan Reynolds, and she's plugging Deadpool at all the premieres, and she won't answer a single question about it. Saw one promo where Blake said, "Wear your florals and grab your girlfriends and head to theaters to check out It Ends With Us."
So crazy.
And there you have it, folks. She's wrong.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you think about, I've been seeing these TikToks, I think after searching for the trailer, now it's all over my algorithm, right? And so I see all these TikToks of these girlfriends saying their boyfriends to see the movie. What is your take on that? What do you think? Because if I went with my girlfriend to see that movie, I don't know how I would feel, but I see all these guys going, I'm wondering what's going on in their heads after they finish watching the movie.
And is the trend that the girlfriends are taking their partners and just not giving them any background? Personally feel like everyone should get a heads up. It's not the type of thing that you just want to bring in just anyone. It could be triggering to people. So therefore, I am so confused when I see the promos of Blake Lively promoting her hair care products. It's crazy to me. I haven't even seen the movie yet, and it's kind of making me not want to see it. It feels insane, right? Now that you...
No, yeah. And in terms of like how the plot of the actual book translated, I obviously didn't read it, but I feel like the movie was pretty good. Like I can't imagine that the book would be that much more different than what the movie portrayed, unless there's like some specific details.
Sure.
So I definitely recommend watching it if you've read the book, if you're into it. But I agree, that is kind of the sponsorships, the promos, kind of unfitting.
Don't love that. Something that I have been watching, I'm so excited it's back. Industry on HBO.
I haven't heard of it.
Oh, fuck, man. You have to check it out. It is so, so good. There are so many shows, of course. I feel like nothing can hold my attention anymore. I have TikTok rot brain.
The doom scrolling, as they call it.
The doom scrolling. I'm trying everything to get out of it, but Industry is what's going to get me out of it. They did just come out with a new season of Industry. Okay. They had 2 seasons. It was kind of a sleeper hit on HBO, but bigger on BBC One. The last time it was out, the last time there was a new season was actually a little over 2 years ago, because I binged all of it the week before my daughter was born. So it was something that was keeping me off of my phone, kind of keeping me from thinking about labor and delivery. And I've been waiting for it to come back. It's back. It is so juicy and good. Similar vibes to Succession in the fact that it's fast moving, business pace, whatever. A lot of sexual tension, a lot of coke, a lot of cocaine. Like, I have not seen this much cocaine since Ibiza. And a hot cast, honestly.
I was going to say some of the, I don't know if it's appropriate, but yeah, the actors do look
incredibly good looking. Incredibly good looking. And this is such a promising season. They have Kit Harington from Game of Thrones playing a big character. I love everyone in it. It's just phenomenal. I highly recommend it if you're into that kind of fast-paced drama. There is a lot of fellatio in it. So just be ready. There is a ton of fellatio, and it is what it is. We're all mature audiences, aren't we, David?
Yeah. And is this one of those shows that's kind of played by age appropriate people? Because you know how you watch like some shows like, I don't know, a Riverdale, and it's played by actors. Yeah, it's like they're in their 30s, late 20s, but technically the characters are in high school.
Oh my God, yeah, I hate that.
This is not one of those, right?
No, this is not one of those. I think they're a little bit closer. They're follows recent graduates who are associate level at a bank. And I have worked in finance in many different capacities, never in the intense part though. I could never do this shit. No fucking thank you. You are giving up so much of your life. So you know what? Associates at banks, maybe you are the real warriors here.
Maybe.
Maybe you really are the true soldiers of this country.
Shout outs, Wall Street.
Occupy Wall Street, motherfuckers. Anyway, okay, so that wraps up today's episode. Thank you so much for joining and listening. If you have been, I really appreciate all the support and love so far. Thank you, David, for chiming in.
Yeah, thank you.
I will see you next week.
Take care.
Bye.